Starting this bulletin with big political developments, Telangana Rashtra Samiti Chief K. Chandrashekhar Rao is currently meeting Congress President Sonia Gandhi amid speculation of an impending TRS Congress merger. Remember, KCR is accompanied by his family during this meeting. He had earlier pledged to merge his outfit with the Congress after a decision on formation of Telangana. But reports suggest that his son KT Ramarao is against any such merger. The crucial KCR Sonia Gandhi meeting is aimed at ironing out differences which pose a challenge in the process of this merger. These are pictures coming to you of KCR and his family members reaching 10 Janpath, where they're set to meet Congress President Sonia Gandhi. A significant political move there. This is the first time KCR would be meeting Sonia Gandhi along with his family members after the announcement and clearance of Telangana in both Lok Sabha as well as the Rajya Sabha. But there appear to be now hurdles coming in the way of this merger, this political marriage, as reports are filtering in of the resistance that is coming from within the family. KCR's son KTR is opposed to a merger with the Congress ahead of the Lok Sabha elections. So clearly no clarity that is emerging yet on Telangana Rashtra Samiti's future, considering KCR had earlier promised and announced as much that he would be merging his party with the Congress after Telangana comes through. Now that the bill has been cleared, the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Bill, which gives birth to the 29th state of Telangana, remains to be seen whether this merger actually takes place or not. Joining us right now is our editor for the South, T.S. Sudhir. Sudhir, Congress TRS merger still not a done deal yet. There are family hurdles, it appears, in the way of this impending political marriage.
Well, yes, definitely the merger talks will start only now after the president most likely signs it by Monday or Tuesday. There is enough speculation taking place in both TRS as well as Congress circles whether a merger or just an electoral alliance is likely to benefit. One of the things being mentioned is that if a merger takes place, then it will actually leave the entire opposition space to the BJP in the Telangana state when it is formed officially, and that is something both the Congress and the TRS are not very keen. Also, there is apprehension within the TRS circles saying that if they have struggled for a separate Telangana state for the last 13 years, would it really make sense for them to give it all up and merge with the Congress? So there is opposition to such an idea within the TRS itself. Also, another thought is that at a time when the BJP is on an upswing, would it really make sense for them to merge with the Congress, which at the moment, according to different opinion polls, does not really look likely to actually come to power in the 2014 election. So these are some of the thoughts which are being mentioned. KCR has told the Congress leaders that he will need to discuss it with different leaders at different levels within the Telangana Rashtra Samiti, and only after that he will be able to commit on whether he would go ahead with a merger. But there are Congress leaders who also say that some kind of a commitment has been sought from KCR even before the bill was passed in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, that he would agree to some kind of a formal relationship with the Congress party.
All right, so those are some of the key points that seem to be emerging, some sticking points that are appearing right now on this impending merger, or in fact questions are being raised, as Sudhir was pointing out, whether this is going to be a merger or an electoral alliance ahead of 2014 elections. So how exactly are we seeing these developments, Sudhir? Is the TRS right now trying to go slow on a tie-up with Congress? Is it in a way trying to put pressure by raising stakes for this merger?
Well, the Congress, in between the Congress and the TRS, it's the TRS which has all the cards at the moment, because even as opinion polls, including that by the India Today Sea Voter opinion poll which we had last week, it showed that the TRS looks likely to win a majority of the Lok Sabha seats in the Telangana state. Now, that is something which would give an impetus to the TRS. It would drive a very hard bargain. Also important to note is that out of the 17 Lok Sabha seats in the Telangana region, 12 of them were actually won by the Congress in 2009. Now, of them, 2 of them have now moved to the TRS, which means 10 are still with the Congress. Would those 10 Congress MPs be willing to give up their seats and not fight the next election? The TRS would obviously bargain for a lion's share of the seats in both the Lok Sabha as well as the Assembly elections. So the bargaining process is going to be very, very long, and the TRS would hope that they are given a majority of the seats in both the Lok Sabha and Assembly elections. They would definitely want to form the state government in the Telangana state and also have some kind of a decisive say in the next government at the center.
So they just stay on with us. We also have on the phone line with us right now Mr. G. Vivekanand. He's a TRS MP. Mr. Vivekanand, could you elaborate for us what really is going on? Does the TSDP prefer a merger or an alliance with the Congress party?
Mr. Chandrashekhar Rao had said that after the bill is passed in both houses of parliament, he will call on the Congress President and then take a decision. Today he has gone along with his family members to pay a courtesy call on the Congress President, and he will come back and depending on what advice or whatever small discussions which take place today, he will take an appropriate decision on merger or whatever is being decided by the Congress President.
All right, Mr. Vivekanand, you're saying the decision will be taken by the party leader KCR, but there are reports emerging that there are differences within the family. KTR is opposed to this merger. Is that also a sentiment within a section of the party?
I think there will be definitely different views within the party. One section will be for merger, one section will be for alliance, one section will be against the merger. I think they will, because one thing is for sure that definitely Mr. KCR, whatever he has done for the last 14 years, struggle, the agitation and getting to the highlight of everybody that the Telangana people are discriminated, a new state needs to be formed. And he's also seeing how Mrs. Gandhi has taken the lead of convincing all the opposition parties, convincing all the regional parties to support for this cause, and but for those serious efforts put in by Mrs. Gandhi, Telangana would not have been a reality. So based on the commitment which he gave earlier, that for him, formation of the new state is the most important thing. Posts are not important, and definitely if Telangana is given, I don't mind merger. This is what he had told earlier, and I think he's on that line. He's gone now to meet Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, and when he comes back, he will talk to a cross-section of people and take an appropriate decision.
Mr. Vivekanand, thanks for joining us. What you've told us is very significant. You are telling us that there could be different views within the party, which in a way corroborates the reports that are coming in that KTR is opposed to a merger with the Congress at this point. He wants an electoral alliance and not a merger. So clearly divisions within the party on how exactly they should go ahead as far as their alliance with the Congress is concerned. We also have our National Affairs editor, Javed Ansari, joining us on the phone line right now. Javed, clearly issues still remain complicated for the Congress party. It isn't clear yet whether it is going to be a merger or just an electoral alliance with the TRS as far as the Congress is concerned in Telangana.
You're absolutely spot on, Ruchika. It all hangs in the balance. There is no gainsaying the fact that the Congress would ideally love to have the TRS merge with the Congress. There is more than one opinion in the TRS on whether they should merge or have an alliance. I have had occasion over the last couple of days to speak to several leaders, including Mr. Chandrashekhar Rao. And while he certainly believes that the Congress must get the credit for ensuring that the state of Telangana becomes a reality, he was non-committal. He says we'll apply our minds and take it from there. What he didn't say in as many words, but gave us to understand that they would prefer an alliance rather than a merger.
All right, let me also quickly go back to T.S. Sudhir, who's on the phone line, I believe, still with us. Sudhir, is the Congress too in two minds? Is there a dilemma within the Congress as well over the merger, considering their past experience that they've had with parties like Praja Rajyam?
Well, there is a dilemma more within the state Congress leadership here in Andhra Pradesh, more so in the Telangana region, because I may tell you there are at least a dozen Telangana congressmen who are in the race to become the next Chief Minister of Telangana. They are putting pressure on the Congress leadership not to impose President's rule, but to probably have a Telangana Chief Minister, because they feel in that kind of a scenario, it would be easier for them to actually claim credit for the Congress party going into the elections in Telangana, because they do also realize that even in the case of an alliance, it will be the TRS which will be seen as having the upper hand in the TRS-Congress relationship. So there are a number of Telangana congressmen who want to become the first Chief Minister of Telangana. So they are not really keen on either President's rule being imposed or even an outright merger with the TRS, in which case they think that it will be KCR or some member of the TRS who will be appointed as the Chief Minister of a Telangana, of a Congress government here in Telangana state. So those are different permutations and combinations being worked out. The Congress leadership hasn't taken the final call on what it really needs to do in the Andhra Pradesh state, or whether to go in for a complete reorganization or have two PCCs in Telangana state and the residuary Andhra Pradesh state.
Right. So clearly, Javed, it is a politically challenging task considering it's come at a time when the Congress is already facing a backlash from the Seema Andhra leaders over passing of Telangana bill. How exactly does it, go ahead to reap maximum dividends from the creation of Telangana? That remains to be seen, and the wishes and the sentiment of Congress leaders within Telangana will have to be taken into consideration by the party high command as it makes this decision.
Well, indeed, you are absolutely right, and they have to reconcile these two contradictions, these two differing views, and that's precisely what the Congress President, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, and Mr. Digvijay Singh, the AICC General Secretary in charge of Andhra Pradesh, are trying to do. They've been ever since in the last couple of days, several high-level meetings have been held, and they're trying to work out the nitty-gritty, the details. The details we will only know once Mr. KCR emerges from that meeting, or even it might take a bit longer because it will be between Mr. Digvijay Singh and KCR that those final details, the nuts and bolts, will be put in place of the relationship.
Javed Ansari, T.S. Sudhir, thank you both for joining us. These are pictures that we are getting to you of the crucial meeting that's taking place at Sonia Gandhi's residence. KCR, along with his family, meeting Congress President. Remember, the Congress TRS's merger is not yet a done deal. There are family hurdles that are coming in the way of this merger, if there could be one, whether this is going to be a political alliance, an electoral alliance, or a merger. That is something that is yet to be decided. We'll be following those details very closely.